This is a review of Ben Shapiro's review of Beast Games. My name's Justin Bird, and I was number 811 on the Beast Games. You may remember me from this motivational speech in episode 2.
It's falling apart! White team. I think we need to have an inspirational speech over here. Give him some words of inspiration.
We are not in a deficit. Every shot is your shot. It's the only one that matters. There's no lead that is too great. I was playing, what's that game? Cornhole today. Everything is... Yo!
May it mark the beginning of a long and illustrious career in motivational speaking. I was in production for about 12 days, if you include episode 0, which aired exclusively on YouTube. And so I'm very familiar with the set, the production, the producers, and the interaction between producers and contestants. And I have a few insider thoughts that I'd like to share. But the first thing I want to do is talk about the 4 people who turned down $1 million.
The viewers are going to think this is fake. This is real. 900. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Surely somebody has to take it.
It's almost $1 million.
Come on, Gino. Don't do it. Oh my God.
What the heck? They're not going to think this is real.
I'm almost like come to tears right now. Who has ever turned down $1 million before on TV?
Because when I saw this episode, when I saw Jimmy hit the floor and say like, nobody's gonna believe this, I thought I should say something. I should be like a second witness or something, because I really am confident that there was no like strings attached. There was nobody behind the scenes trying to orchestrate or direct the outcome. First of all, the captains were picked on camera. You saw them. And that's how all of the games went, was that all team strategy happened live and without any producer interference whatsoever. Jimmy would literally, or one of his 2 people like sharing the rules, would stand up with the mic, explain it, and then we would do it. And we were already mic'd up and there were cameras already on us, and then that footage is just what we did ourselves. So first of all, production couldn't have even known who the captains would be to get a hold of them in advance, and then they were marched right up the stairs and into the game. Even though there is time often between games, sometimes lots of times, like a whole day or something, from the time of picking the captain to the time of the actual bribe, I don't think that there was any gap in between where the captains could have or would have been pulled aside. I decided to go on the show when my 14-year-old son asked me to go, primarily because my impression of Jimmy's vibe was hands-off. And it proved to be that way. The hands-on finagling behind the scenes of that is common in reality TV production was almost entirely absent up to the point where I was in the show. And so I really I'm strongly confident that these people really did pass up $1 million, which is Wahnsinn. Now I want to talk about how something as outrageous as that could have happened. Because, Ben, you keep saying that, like, these are strangers, these are people in a contest, these are not family and friends, you don't know them.
I'm just going to put it out here. If you were a team leader here and you didn't take the $1 million, you're a moron. This is a competitive game. You're a stupid person if you don't take the $1 million. You don't know these people. It is a competitive game. It doesn't make you self-sacrificial. It doesn't make you a saint. It doesn't make you a martyr. That's the nature of the game. It make you a bad person. I would have taken the money because these people are not on your team. They will all be eliminated. It's not like your family. You don't know these people.
And therefore, that's what we should expect from people who are just playing with other strangers in a competition show, which makes total sense on the surface. But behind the scenes, I want to give you some more details that would maybe sort of help viewers understand why these contestants are behaving with such fidelity to these acquaintances of theirs. First of all, we have no phones, and therefore we're interacting with each other every minute of every day. Yes, there were some people who were isolating, but for the most part, we were talking to each other. We were getting to know each other. And what do you talk about when you meet new people for the first time? Your whole life. You got days upon days. You got days upon days to talk about your kids and your spouse and your ambitions and your job and your hopes and your fears. And so one day of average production, you're probably clocking somewhere between 4 and 12 hours or more of nonstop face-to-face storytelling and interacting. Imagine a dating camp with no phones, 24/7. You are locked into a very specific area, and all you have to do is get to know each other. Imagine a week of that. Imagine 2 weeks of that. After 3 weeks, you'd be ready for marriage. Translated to normal life, where we're mostly all on our phones, each day on set is like knowing someone for a few weeks. So toward the end, when JC betrays Emma, it feels very much to them like the betrayal of a year-long friendship, or even closer. I mean, those emotions of theirs are real. It's not for the camera, and they're not crazy. They're just hyper invested in a new relationship that is unique, bound by drama and grief and stress. Holy cow, the stress. Like, it took me a few days to stop spinning projections of what was coming next. Like, it was giving me a headache. It was taking a toll on many people physically. And I just found that the best approach was to stop thinking altogether. And that was the best approach for me cutting the stress. It was the basis of my speech that I was trying to unwind everyone from their perpetual cycling thoughts, because everyone was gripped with panic most of the time. And so that too adds to the bond, which brings me to my next point, which is that this bottom right corner of the prisoner's dilemma that you bring up, Ben, is really the ideal outcome. I mean, this is really what we shoot for. And your point is that these people on the show are not family and friends. And I'm assuming by your manner of speech that in a real world situation with family and friends, we would behave one way, but within the confines of a game structure, like this game show, the same rules do not apply. If you lie in the structure of the game, you're not a liar in real life. So this whole idea of like, you have to be honest in your dealings with your fellow players, because if you are dishonest, somehow that makes you an immoral person. It's just totally stupid, because it's not real life. It's a game. And so the rules are different, and it's stated up front and within the context of the game rules that you should do whatever it takes to win, to get the money, to get the cash prize. You come down so harshly on these four who pass up the million.
So you're an adult if you don't take the $1 million. Here's the clip.
What is going on? Dino!
Okay, so people are not taking the $1 million to eliminate their team.
This is real money! Real money!
Why don't they just take the money? Just take the money, dude. Just take the money.
Don't do it!
I cannot believe what I am seeing. 5!
They're just so self-sacrificial, or they're being stupid about the nature of the game. If you go to this game in the first place, you should be taking the $1 million. You're the winner.
3, 2.
People they don't understand expected value calculations, or they think the social sanction is so strong that they can't take the $1 million. Take the $1 million and run, my man. That is quite foolish. Quite foolish.
But, and true, one of them got out the very next game, and then another one a couple of games after that, and then Dino gets out in, I believe, the third to last episode, and then Twana is still in it. So they didn't all get very far. I wouldn't say, based on the introduction to statistics class that I also took at UCLA, I wouldn't say that there's a correlation between passing up $1 million for what? Virtue, for trust, for integrity, or for the relationships you have with these 50 strangers down below. I wouldn't say there's a correlation that means you go further in the show. But there were a couple pivotal points for Twana where she did make it to the next stage because of that rapport that she built with those players. Man, that's crazy to think that up to today, which is Wednesday, the day before the finale comes out, that she has passed up $1.9 million for total strangers. And I can hear what you're thinking, Ben. She's an idiot. That's almost half of the final prize money, right? But if she had taken the first million, she probably wouldn't have gotten to the chance to take the second million, so those numbers wouldn't add up anyway. And what if she ends up winning the final prize? And what if the final prize is 10 million? You got to understand, at this point in the game, these players have been locked away together without phones or contact with the outside world for weeks, possibly a month or more. That is tight-knit, crazy intense social bonding over grief, over stress. Yes, it's understood at the baseline that this is a competition and you can't stay friends forever and that there can only be one winner. Yes, that's understood cognitively, but emotionally a lot of ties are being built. I mean, that was the whole point of the train elimination, was to test those ties and bonds. I just think that there's a baseline misunderstanding that you have, that all the people and all the people in the show and all their interactions are with strangers who they don't care about. Every single day, these people are becoming closer and closer friends to the point where they're starting to feel like family. And you hear it in their speech, and I know you're only watching them for a couple of hours, but they are really feeling it. Yes, among strangers, the most common outcome is the top left corner, where each gets 6 years. But the bottom right corner yields the best outcome and is the practical benefit of building trust. If you love your enemies to the point that they love you back, you've got no more enemies. If the top left corner is the most common outcome, then the bottom right corner is the only sustainable outcome. Only a win-win result wins both the prize and the person. And I'm pretty sure that's the strategy Twana's going for. Now, I realize that in the overall framework of the game show, there is one prize for 5 million, but I'm glad you brought up this specific game.
Another sort of social experiment that was played was episode 8. Okay, in this particular episode, there was a bag of cash, and contestants were asked sequentially to take money from the bag of cash. How much money are you going to take? It's like $1 million in the bag, and there are 10 people on each team, or there's 10 contestants left at this point in the whole game. And how much money do you take? Now, again, the amount of money that you take is going to determine whether you get eliminated or not. If you just go and grab all the cash, presumably everybody then votes to eliminate you because you took all of the cash. Only one person was smart enough to do this, and then he was crying about it. Why are you crying about it, dude? It's a competitive game. That's the nature of the game. It'll make you a bad person. I would have taken the money. Because these people are not on your team. They will all be eliminated. Again, this is not like capitalism, and it's not like your church. It's not like your family. You don't know these people. The bizarre attempt by the producers to sort of create this, oh, you're part of a community now. You have a stake in these people. You love them and they love you. Nah. So only one dude played this game correctly.
Oh, wow.
If you had to pick one person out of the 10 people remaining, you're like, I feel like they would take more than 10%.
I genuinely don't think anyone would. Because we've all come so far for a reason, so we're all deserving of this. And anyone who is ill intent coming in or has sabotaged anyone else is already out.
$677,000
naive
remains.
Child.
I didn't expect that at all.
Really?
Yeah. This is guaranteed money.
This is your money.
I would pay off my mortgage and my debt.
How much debt?
A lot.
Do you feel comfortable sharing?
With mortgage, credit cards, loans, I probably owe about $530.
Whoa, you can take exactly what you need to pay off all your debt.
JC, I trust more than anyone here because he was
take
in
all
my
of it.
red cube box challenge with me.
In such a short amount of time, I've grown to love you guys like if you were my daughters. Until you said I want to take care of you, but I don't know what to do right now.
And he said he'd take me to the top,
Oh
and
my
now I'm
gosh.
number 4.
See, that's the schmucky part. Don't pretend that they're like your daughters. They're not. You don't know these people.
Whatsoever. I trust every one of them.
I know I'm going to have a target on my back, but I'm not guaranteed the $5 million
It's
either.
a competition show. See, people are going to watch me and my take on this, and they're going to be like, how dare you be so cruel? It's a competition show. This is like saying that Patrick Mahomes should deliberately throw interceptions to achieve fairness in the Super Bowl. It is a competition show. There are winners and there are losers. If you don't buy into the premise of the show, don't go on the show. If you went on the show to make friends, you need to have a better life. That's all.
This is a prime example of where sustainable win-win X10 scenario, what it might look like. These people had been on the set for so long and had spent so much time with each other that there really was like a family level trust and bond built at this point. And so it was already in everyone's mind that they could split the $1 million and each get $100,000 and go home all big winners without anybody being eliminated that round. You see, not all Jimmy's games necessitated an elimination. And so that strategy is what was on everyone's mind at this point. Being as bonded as they were looking for this bottom right corner outcome in the prisoner's dilemma, a win-win-win, 10x for everybody. It was in everyone's mind except, I think, for Michael's. I slept across from Michael in the city, and we chatted, and he's an interesting guy. I'm not entirely sure that his brain got the memo of the groupthink. I'm not sure that splitting it evenly even crossed his mind. I'm not saying he's dumb. I'm just saying he thinks differently, and I think that it's very clear that he came up with his own reason, his own strategy for why he chose the amount that he chose. He didn't share it. It'll forever be a mystery. But the dude is built different. He probably would have hung on that bar until his limbs fell off. Like, he's got a strong mind, but it's one of the blessings of that is that, you know, he doesn't think like everybody else. So I don't know whether it even occurred to him to just take $100,000, but I also don't suspect that he ruined the pattern for greed, right? Like if greed had been his motive, wouldn't he have taken all the rest of the money? I mean, he left nearly $700,000 on the table. So if he had been looking to sell out his friends, if he was looking to just be underhanded, I think he would have taken a much larger share. He took it for some other reason. It's just an anomaly that maybe he'll share with us one day. Who knows? But I don't think it was greed. I don't even know if he got the memo that everyone should just take $100,000. I don't even know if it crossed his mind. But if it did, in his scales, it didn't weigh as much as whatever his reason was for choosing that amount. But what I am sure about is that he is responsible for the fiasco that followed. And I'm not saying that I'm confident that JC would have only taken $100,000 if Michael had only taken $100,000. I don't know JC that well. In total transparency, the only one that I've had any notable amount of contact with was Twana, of the 10 remaining in the show at this point. Back in episode 1, when we were doing the self-sacrificing and the rows were being eliminated and those 3 rows got eliminated, I was in the same row as Twana. And because of all the speculation that had been going on for hours and days prior, the rumor that had got started somehow was that there would be a captain and that captain would be bribed. So that's the rumor that was happening all the way in episode 1. It ended up happening in episode 2, but I had some contact with Twana because we were in the same row for that reason. And she was totally pitching herself as someone who would resist all bribes. And I wasn't sure, but she did. Hats off to her. So I don't know JC, but I think the chances of JC taking only $100,000 if Michael had only taken $100,000 and kept that pattern is high. I think the fact that the pattern was already broken pushed JC over the edge. And I think that if Michael hadn't been such a wild card and been placed in the number 2 position in that lineup, I think there's a really strong chance that we would have seen a win-win-win X10 scenario play out here. I think everyone would have gotten a big chunk. $100,000 is no small amount. They all had lasted that long. They were tighter and had more time and chance to build up trust and test each other's integrity than, at any other stage prior among any other group of people. So I really think that I agree with you, Ben, that within the parameters of the game itself, there's no morality. All questions of deceit or trust are still just a part of the game. Many believe that this game is just But many believe that this game show is just a game within a larger game. Like the game show is a smaller game within the larger game of life. And I myself seriously considered this relationship between the game show and the game of life before I left, and had long conversations with my 2 teenage sons about that and the exact kind of situation where, what do you do when you say, this is what I'm going to do, but then you're offered a prize, a way out? What's more important, to win in the game or to keep your word? And what does your word mean in the game? We talked about this at length. And to be sure, if I'm playing a card game with 6 friends around my dinner table, I'm going to do what I need to do to win, and I'm never going to question my own integrity or character, and I'm never going to fear that my friends are going to question my integrity or character, because we're in a game. We're in game zone, and we know it. But when you're playing a game and it's going to be watched by potentially a quarter of the world over the course of years, it's tempting to look at the possible results in the larger game of life that your actions within the smaller game of the show might have after the show's over. And I know that that's not primarily what we've been seeing in the series so far. I mean, because if we were seeing people facing their choices within the game, the smaller game, based on the results that they were hoping for in the larger game of life, after the show, then they would be just as eager to be villains as to be trusted by their fellow contestants, because you're just as likely to get called back to a show with Jimmy being a villain as you are a hero. So that's not most of what we've been seeing. And I get that it's not the same. I get that if you give your word in a game show and you break it, like Gage just did, right, to get to the top 6, that doesn't mean that you're a liar in real life. I grant you, Ben, and you, Gage, that. But I don't agree with you, Ben, necessarily that the best strategy in any game is to always make your choices based on the belief that other people are going to screw you over. And I have noticed this too in your political slant over the course of 3 elections now, that much of what you believe is effective in political campaigning is to appeal to the mass, baser nature of mankind. And to some degree, I believe you're right. You got to kind of speak to the animal brain in people and rouse the emotions to get them to go out and vote. But if we as a world ever want sustainability in human relations as much as we want sustainability for the planet and the animals and all the other things we want sustainability for, then we're going to have to pay more attention to the bottom right corner of the prisoner's dilemma, and we have to face the fact that trust is the key differentiator between mostly bad results for both and the best possible outcome for all. The top left corner of the prisoner's dilemma is where everyone ends up when there's a shortage of trust and you have short-term strategizing. But the bottom right corner of the prisoner's dilemma is where we end up when there's an ample amount of trust and there's long-term strategizing. So Beast Games is precisely that, a game. But it is a long game where people are kept together as in a prisoner's camp without contact with the outside world. And there is an irresistible added element of familiarity. And there's very much a strong sense of family and trust and being able to trust each other even in the game. In fact, the social bonding is so strong, it might supersede the game. And I think you see that in some instances, like with not Emma, but the other brunette in the tower in the final 10, where she's like, "Look, I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna let people push me forward if they want to see me move forward." Like, would she have said that in episode 1, 2, or 3? No, because at that time, those social bonds hadn't been ratcheted up to the level that they had to have been at the top 10. I mean, in a short-term game where everyone remains strangers, that's the strategy. But in a long-term game where people get bonded, it's still the game, but it becomes obscured by the bonding and the friendship and the familiarization. And so people lose track of the fact that they're playing a game. It's easy to lose track of the fact that you're playing a game. It's easy to go with your emotions that are flowing because of the creation of these social bonds and this familiarization. It's like a weight scale. If those feelings of social bonding are stronger, it's just going to blur your cognitive strategizing. You're going to forget that you're in a game. And I guess that's part of the game, right? Is to remember that it's a game. It is possible that these 4 who passed up the million were being stupid about the nature of the game. But also, look how much further the trust that Twana built in this moment got her. I mean, she's coming down to the very last episode, and at multiple key points, the trust built in this moment is what's carried her. And yes, although she's passed up a total of $1.9 million based on this naivete or stupidity, as you call it, Ben, still, what if she ends up with the grand prize of $5 million? Or what if the grand prize ends up being $10 million, right? And she more than 5x's the amount of money that she has given up heretofore. So it is a strategy. It may not be the most common strategy or the wisest in your opinion, but it is a strategy, and it may end up working very well to Twana's benefit. What I do know is that it becomes difficult after days and days of isolation and bonding by stress and trauma to maintain that clarity of vision that you're in a game with strangers, and to not be overcome by the emotions and the feelings of your newfound friends, your best friends, your family. Don't you hear them calling each other that? That's not because they've been told to say these words by producers. That's really how they're feeling at this point. The bonding is so intense backstage. Wouldn't it be something if Twana ends up winning it all? Who clearly believes. And then to ask her, did you play the I won't sell my contestants out card? Did you play that strategy for the win? For the alliances to take you to the end? Or did you do it because you think your word in a game show is your word in real life and you see no boundary or border, that it's just all one thing for you? It'd be interesting to ask. She's definitely a competitor. I mean, you see the tiger snarl. You know? We keep seeing the tiger snarl. So she's definitely, she's a wrestler, so she's definitely out to get him. It's such a weird combo, right? She's like, stay out of my way. I'm a train. I'm gonna wreck you. Don't get in my way. I'm coming for this prize. And then she's like, has the most integrity among her fellow contestants. Like, she has literally proven herself to be the most loyal, trustworthy, and reliable to never sell anyone out. I mean, twice. Giving up $1 million for the 50 or whatever, and then giving up 900,000 again for 9 other people. Such an interesting combo of she's here to win, and yet she's definitely not playing a short game strategy. She's definitely playing a long game strategy, and I don't know if that's pure game strategy or if that's because she's blurring the line between game show and the game of life. Whether she is on your side, Ben, she's definitely in it for her own. Like, she definitely has that component of self-seeking. She also seems to be playing a strategy that confounds that human nature approach. Good luck to the remaining contestants. Gage, I am dying to see if this coin flip is going to prove Ben's point that people who sell out other people is human nature and is part of the game and that's how they get ahead in life, or if this is like a quick karma snippet that is so common in Jimmy's videos where you were the only one who lacked integrity in the last competition and then also the only one who decided to flip the coin. and to see if you get eliminated or double the prize money and possibly win it yourself. That'll be interesting to see how life treats you in that. So very fun, very well played, all of you. I'm excited for the finale to come out tomorrow. I can't wait to see who wins. It's been as fun to watch as it was fun to be in the show. It was a chance of a lifetime, and I thank you, Jimmy, for the opportunity to be in Beast Games. And I hope to see everyone in season 2.